Everyone, welcome back to the Viking Academy podcast. Today, I have Dr. Will Schroeder on the podcast. Now, we call him Dr. Bill. That's what he goes by. Dr. Bill was a complete surprise to me. He reached out to me to do this podcast and said, "Hey, Eric, I think I'd be a really good fit for it. I'm a specialist in medicine, in integrative medicine, and I have a message that I think your listeners would really want to hear." That was pretty well all I knew before I did this podcast. And literally, so we got on the podcast, and I just had to figure out who this guy was. And he starts talking, and you'll hear it in the podcast. And I'm just sitting there listening, going, holy shit, this is incredible. We talk about how he deals with energy forces is actually information highways. So think about it. All the energy, the vibration that happens in the world is all information. And as humans, we capture that information, but in that limited five senses that we have, like that's at limited. We talk about the opening of the senses of the sixth eye, like the third eye, but opening that sixth sense and really capturing all of the information that's actually out there. The level that we went to on this one really shocked me, actually, because what he was saying made so much sense, yet I don't know how to tap into what he's talking about yet. And I'm really looking forward to having a follow-up with him and getting him to show me exactly what he's talking about. He said he was going to start a brand new landing page. Hopefully that's together before this podcast airs to give you access to it. In any event, I'm going to do further exploring with him on how to access this intuitive nature that he believes that every single one of us have. And when he was talking about it, I believe, like I know it. I know it inside. I just haven't figured out how to access it yet. But man, am I ever motivated to do that now after this podcast with him. I'm really looking forward for you to be able to listen in on our conversation. And like I said, I'm going to keep doing more research into this. I'm going to explore even further. I can't wait to have a follow-up call with him. And I can sense that this will not be the first podcast that he's on. And I have a funny feeling that we're going to get a lot of his resources. We're going to put it inside the Viking Academy. If you haven't joined the Viking Academy, it's absolutely free. There's tons of resources in there for you. Go to vikingacademy.com, sign up. But with enough of that, man, let's get into this podcast. It's a doozy. So let's go. Explore. Hey, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Eric. How you doing?
Oh, great. So, you and I have never spoken before, but you reached out to me and you piqued my curiosity. And as a true Viking explorer, I wanted to go explore the conversation and see where it would go. I have no idea where any of these conversations ultimately end up, but they always end up being a lot of fun. But could you give the listener a little background on who you are and kind of what brought you to you and me having this conversation? Then we'll dive into what you're doing.
Well, I'm a retired board certified internal medicine specialist, 37 years. That's adult medicine, diabetes, hypertension, some pretty rough diseases. I'm a molecular biologist. That's what I did to prepare. I've been studying medicine science since age 6. And I'm also a university trained integrative medicine practitioner, a graduate of the University of Arizona's associate program in integrative medicine under Dr. Andrew Weil, who is a well-known author and led the integrative medicine movement for some time. Brief explanation of that. Integrative medicine is a focus on the doctor-patient relationship. It's kind of a return to what happened before there was a disintegration, especially in the Americas around the turn of the century, around 1900. And it's that, and that's crucial. This relationship has kind of become disturbed by a number of factors, but it also teaches practitioners, it's a school, how to incorporate different methodologies and different traditions of medicine outside what people consider standard Western medicine, like herbalism and nutraceuticals and uh, energy medicine, which is my favorite subject, because that's really the most powerful form of medicine there is. And if you look at it, it's not really energy medicine in the way that people think of energy. It's informational medicine. And I'll give you some information about how we work informationally. Uh, Energy medicine is perhaps the oldest form of medicine, and we do what I would call energy medicine automatically. That's why we're here. We exist because we are systems that have learned how to impose information on chaos. Everything in existence has that property. Physics knows this and has known it for some time, and quantum physics has confirmed this and added some really interesting and somewhat spooky things like non-locality to this, which I think people really need to kind of start connecting with that and understand that. So I went through this course uh, at the University of Arizona School of Medicine. And during that course, which was online, about me and my group was 80 doctors. We signed up for this, and we were the inaugural class, and it was online teaching, except for 2 weeks a year when we would gather in Tucson around near the university and get to know each other personally. And this turned out to be a good thing for me. Um, Around 2001, I was down meeting with my fellow practitioners who wanted to become integrative. And I was sitting on the veranda drinking a beer, right? So, sitting on the veranda drinking a beer, talking to one of these guys, and I overhear this conversation. And in the conversation, a person says, "Hey, we formed a group and we're going to work with an energy medicine practitioner." And the background story is this. When I was young, I was very sick and had a lot of trauma in my life. And anybody who's had trauma realizes that the impulse is to escape that trauma, survival, correct?
Yep.
And that's what I did. And I was very young. I'm not sure if this is true, but this may have prompted me to become more psychic or more aware of psychic properties. And I'll tell the people that are listening right now, including you, you are definitely psychic, and I can prove it. Okay, so I mean, it's not like psychic. I mean, you may not be talking to dead people every morning, but 70% of
No.
people have intuition, which is a form of psychic. An intuitive event occurs in 70% of people's lives. And intuition is a form of psychic behavior or psychic performance. A psychic, everybody recognizes as someone who can go outside of the normal narrow five senses to another sensory, which people call the third eye or the sixth sense, gather information, process it, and come back and act upon it. Tell somebody about it or do something that helps somebody. Like they may be able to say, well, if you step off that curve at 9 a.m. Tuesday morning, you'll get hit by a truck. So don't do that. And the people go, well, how did you know that? Well, they went to another sensory, and people regard that as strange. Some people regard it as unusual or paranormal. I don't think it is. I think it is a property of the human organism that has survival power. The more information you can process from the universe, I mean, if you're nearsighted like me, you don't process as well at 200 yards. See what I'm saying? So this is a sensory, and so I was very psychic, and like a lot of psychic children, I thought everybody was psychic, and had no idea. I thought everybody could see into the future. I had telepathic properties, and a lot of things happened. Well, around 12, because I wanted to become a doctor, uh, I had this horrible illness, many times was near death. And in my family, there was a lot of illness, really destructive stuff, right? So I took a vow. I said, I'm going to fight this. I hate suffering. I still hate it. I'm not a big fan. I mean, I don't know
That,
if there's a
neither am
fan.
I. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't found the suffering fan club yet, but yeah. So anyway, but I took it to the hill. I said, I'm going to become a doctor. Well, I was learning science and medicine, reading everything I could get. I mean, we're talking, I'm a teenager. Well, the other guys were out playing cowboys and Indians. I was making chemistry experiments and dissecting roadkill, literally. I mean,
Yeah.
my the people on my block, my fellow kids, thought I was insane, and they were right in a way. But I was doing that, okay, because I wanted to know. My mind just went there. I said, how am I going to do this? Well, the idea was if I know with this thing, then I'll become a good doctor. So I became a molecular biologist, someone who studies DNA mechanics and how the cell works, how what appears to be machinery works. I said, that will help me because when I get to medical school, I'll know the details. And then I became a doctor. During this process, I suppressed my intuitive capacities, my psychic abilities. And there's a reason for that because they're not really well accepted in the scientific world, although the evidence is in, it's reproducible. 10 millennia, we've known about the psychic intuitive abilities of people and its role in healing. Well, I kind of pushed it aside. Well, it didn't work. It didn't work very well at all because when I got out and started practicing medicine, my psychic intuitive abilities helped me. There's something called intuitive healing or intuitive healers. They're intuitive doctors. I know many of them. Some of them are connected with it like me and know what it is. Others they know by seeing something about that person that isn't in the five sense world. So I would go in to see a patient, and before I'd even read their chart, sometimes I would have the diagnosis. Literally. I would know what was wrong with them before I met them or interviewed them. The advantage I had was as a doctor. So I could do blood tests and radiology, and most of the time I was right. So I could confirm it. So it was reproducible information that was coming from not the five senses, but somewhere else. So technically I was a psychic doctor.
So let me just unpack for a second. I was so immersed in what you were talking about there. I've got about 15 questions that I want to ask you along the way
Okay.
here. So you mentioned something in the beginning. You said you had a bunch of trauma. Was that the health was the traumas, or did you have other traumas?
Well, there were two
That,
two major traumas. I was born with a very poor immune system, something called hypogammaglobulinemia. Gamma globulins are the infection-fighting proteins. And I would not have survived. I had pneumonia all the time. I spent most of my first 4 or 5 years in the hospital. But one pediatrician, who we actually adopted into the family, did an experimental injection of human gamma globulins. This is back in the late 1950s. And they didn't know if that would work. They didn't know if it was dangerous, but it saved my life because I didn't have those proteins. Giving them to me from the outside prevented me from dying. On top of that, I had a very rare genetic metabolic disease in my family that is too complicated to go into, but it caused a lot of trauma. So I had near death experiences when I was a child, some of which I remember, some of which I don't. And I also learned how to exit stage right this trauma. So that may have contributed to my psychic abilities because if you're here in your brain, you're looking here. I left my senses, in a sense, and started to access what people would call the third eye. And so that probably led to my pretty intense psychic properties as a kid. So,
okay. Yeah, that's that. Okay, so there was the second part of the question that I was going to ask because you had this trauma. You said you had these traumas, so I wanted to understand clearly, and that that definitely fits the definition. Given what everything you're talking about at that young age, that's some serious childhood trauma. from there you said you mentioned that you had escaped from it, and that's what probably triggered your psychic ability. I was curious on what the escape part was, and you said so the escape part was you learned how to move away from the senses. Like tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, medically, if it's an actual disease and messes with the person, you might call it dissociative disorder. So
Okay.
what I remember is actually being out of my body, viewing the scene from afar. Okay. And I would still operate, I'd still talk, but part of me was observing from a different perspective. And this happens to people a lot. And if it messes with you a lot, then it's a psychiatric disorder. This is part of the human experience. And I will explain hopefully how this happens and why it happens and why if you did that observation, you would know that you are constantly accessing this information for survival. Okay, and
So, and this is different. So, this, I just want to clarify one thing. So, this is different from the near death experience you had. You're telling me that or it sounds the same as a near death experience where you're watching what's happening from my understanding of that. Because I want to talk about that as a separate side issue. But it sounds like the same thing, but you said you were doing it as you were interacting with people. That was your escape out. So you're having a conversation with me, but at the same time, you're over here watching the conversation with me, is what you're saying.
yes, and you know, when we operate our five senses, we're operating it with the brain, okay? But that's not the only recorder we have. Near-death experiences prove that because people who are brain dead have verifiable experiences and can hear conversations across town or see things. I mean, it's verified scientific information. So there's this recorder, and then there's another recorder that is also crucial to human survival that's built in. And that's presumably what I was using. So it came full circle when I found this mechanism again. And maybe it'll explain this better. So here I am. I signed up for this meeting with this energy medicine practitioner, but I don't know it's an experiment. Turns out it was an experiment, a scientific experiment, and I didn't know it was a subject. I filled out the forms and they said, okay, go to Tucson to the Human Bioenergetics Laboratory on the campus. And I was one of the first to arrive, little nondescript Adobe building. And there were 40 of us or so, and they processed this. So they brought us into their lab and they pointed gamma counters at us because people radiate gamma rays. And they've noted that people in psychic mode make more gamma radiation. So they were trying to figure out this, and they did EEGs, electroencephalograms. They recorded Kirlian photography of our hands, put our hands on a Kirlian photography plate, and said, "Okay, now run energy." And none of us knew what was going on. This was all um, part of the experiment. And then we went to a big classroom and we paired off. There were 20 pairs of us, and one of us would hold our hands like this, and the other person would hold them like this. And the person above, they'd say, okay, now run energy out your right hand, but don't tell the other person what you're doing.
Okay.
And we
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
to detect where that hand was coming from, and they were recording that. So that was their baseline experiment. And this was designed by Dr. Gary E. Schwartz, a noted neuroscientist, uh, Dr. Schwartz, a member of the faculty. And he's been investigating unusual abilities of human beings forever and has written, I think, 10 books. That experiment is in one of his books called The Energy Experiments. So we're a group of like 40 people, and he gets baseline data. Can these people sense subtle energy, energy that you can't see, but potentially feel? Okay.
Mhm.
And, subtle energies are not unusual. X-rays were subtle before we got X-ray machines, right? Yeah, and they were subtle. Now they're not so subtle. But you still need an X-ray machine. If you're out looking for X-rays, you're not going to see them with these peepers. You know what I'm saying? So they're subtle.
Yeah, yeah. And people now all of a sudden we take X-ray. Going in for an X-ray is just normal. Everybody accepts it now. But if you had talked about it before we had actually found the technology to harness it and to show that it worked to our five senses, we would have been like, yeah, you're crazy. You're a crazy person. And that's kind of I'm paralleling that with what you're talking about in terms of our psychic abilities.
Yeah, and so information gathering and processing units like the brain and the eyes,
Mhm.
which are energetic fields. People don't realize it. I mean, you can feel them, but they're actual energetic fields. And fields detect fields and interact with fields. So I'm looking at you, I'm looking at your energetic field. It looks
Yeah.
physical. If I was there, I could touch you and I go,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's matter, but it's actually vibration that I can pick up as a chunk of thing that is Eric.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you don't actually see Eric. You see the light bouncing off of Eric and the light that's coming into the eye,
Right.
which then creates the image of Eric.
So we already know that there's another detector because
Right.
of psychicism. And
Right.
it's not this. We know it's not in here because people have near-death experiences, record things, come back, they're accurate, and everybody goes, well, how did you record that? It
Yeah. How
wasn't
did you
like this
record that
because this
when
was,
you're yeah technically brain
you're
dead?
dead.
Like,
You
yeah.
can't
Yeah.
because the brain is not operating. So that's one of the things that I want people to understand. There's subtle energies and there's subtle energy detectors. Okay.
Okay.
And we have both. We have five senses. Uh, Now, I can't see infrared, but a bee can. Okay. So to me, infrared is subtle, but not to a bee. I can't hear supersonics, but a cat bat can. So that's a subtle auditory out of my range of hearing. But it's
Right.
real. It's there. Bats see it. You hear it. Or I mean, so anyway, that's kind of the contextualization. So what we were trying to detect was a subtle energy that's there, but it's hard to detect, right? And then we were to go and be trained by another faculty member who what is an energy medicine practitioner. So we went south of Tucson, 60 miles to Rex Ranch, beautiful little resort. And the trainer was a woman by the name of Dr. Rosalyn Bruyere, a doctor of divinity. And to give you an idea of the type of detector available, Rosalind can see, and this was confirmed at testing in Berkeley, scientifically confirmed, the human energy field. She could see the aura in 3D color, Technicolor, like a movie, and she's been able to do that since she was a small child. I had a nurse that could do it. There are people out there that can see your aura, okay? And that's a form of subtle energy. It's real, but it's subtle. So I meet Rosalind down there, and everybody's talking about her. She's probably, in my book, she's the most talented energy healer I've ever met or talked to. She can fix things in the human body that really are not fixable by Western science. She treated Frank Zappa. I don't know, you know Frank
Oh
Zappa.
yeah. Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know
I'm used.
Cher, right? You know Cher, Martin
Yeah.
Scorsese, Dick Butkus. These are her clients. Okay, so she's not a slouch. And she's also an expert in all things esoteric. She studied everything. Okay. So I meet Rosalind and I'm psychic. Okay. And I can tell when someone's looking at my energy field. And I'm going, she's looking at me. And I'm going, oh my God, I've never met anybody who's done that before my whole life. But I could feel her eyeballing me with her third eye. Oh my gosh, what have I got here? So she does a lecture and we're all sitting around. They got tables arranged in a rectangle and we're sitting in chairs in there. And she's across the room from me. And she's telling everybody that she could use the human energy field to heal people physically. And I go nuts. I mean, I go nuts because I know about this and I'm a doctor and I got people waiting at home who are on death's door. So I start asking questions, right? And I ask them question after question. We're in this group. Yeah. And all these people are starting to get irritated because she can't complete her lecture because I'm going, hey, I want to know about this, right? So I'm talking and I'm asking a question, and she's across the room, maybe 20 feet away. All of a sudden, bam, I freeze, my brain can't work, and I can't use my vocal cords. My mouth is open and mid-question going like this. Everybody's laughing. She, with her energy field, influenced my energy field and took me into a consciousness state where I didn't know how to use my mouth. I didn't know how to use my brain. And so all of a sudden I'm sitting there going, I can't talk. Then she let me go 2 seconds later. And I went, oh my God, I'm in the presence of somebody who knows how to do what I want to know, right? Special event for me, right? So then she taught us how to run energy, which everybody does. You may have heard of the chakras.
Yes.
Yeah, so chakras are organs. They're intake, subtle energy intake and processing units that are like the kidney or the liver. Those are connected, right? So my crown chakra takes in spiritual energy. My root chakra takes in earth energy. Let's for
Yeah.
convenience of
Yeah.
explanation.
Yep.
And they're
Yep.
connected. And so they communicate. So this is much like any other informational system, different parts subserve the whole. And those are called chakras. So through our foot chakras, we were taking in earth energy, sucking it up through our body, taking it to a thing called the dantian in the lower abdomen, running it around a circuit called the microcosmic circuit, putting it back in our dantian, running it up to our middle dantian, and then out our palms. So she's teaching us so that Dr. Schwartz can gather data after she teaches us, right? So it takes an afternoon for us to teach us. It's really easy. Everybody does it. You're doing it right now, or you wouldn't be alive because this information is part of your organizational system. If that went away, the whole thing would collapse. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Even though it's subtle energy, it's like blood, air, energy. We call it chi. So if you ask a Chinese medicine practitioner what chi is, they'll say it's everything. He might say it's energy, but chi is information. And we regard it as energy because it moves things. Energetic things move things. They have power, right? And so we're absorbing earth chi and emitting human energy chi out our palms so that Gary Schwartz can detect it, do a statistical analysis, and prove scientifically that people can be taught to do this, right? So we do this, right? And she teaches us how to do this. And so I'm going, this is great. I'm good at it. And I didn't know it, how good I was, right? So we paired off and went out to kind of do a pre-test with the other people, where we paired off with a person and we did this thing.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm running all this energy. And for some reason I decide, hey, let me see how this works. So I had this beautiful woman was a partner of mine, and I put my hand on her crown chakra and I just ran energy like a bat out of hell. I mean, I just ran like a Marine would run energy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't know how much I ran. She's going, oh my God, I'm spinning. All of a sudden, I'm getting a 360 view of my environment in unbelievable detail. This lasts 2 seconds, and I go, what the hell was that? She almost falls to the ground. I catch her. And what happened was my energy field was like this, looking through the five senses, and bam, it went into the third eye. I pulled in enough energy to power that system. And I didn't know, nobody told me. This would be called a Kundalini event or
Yes.
the
Yes.
opening of
Okay.
the
Yes.
third
Yeah.
eye,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so that was the end of that experience that night at Rex Ranch. We were supposed to go up the next day to the thing. And I went back. The experiment was successful. Statistically, you can teach people how to, I mean, they're doing it. You just teach them how to do it real good, right? So for the
Now,
next
here's
two,
a question. Here's a quick question for you, though. So, when you were doing the test and say you were focusing on, I'm going to put energy out of my right hand, is it this was teaching you how to push energy out of your hand? Did you have to teach them how to receive it, or could people just naturally pick it up? Like, do you
what
know what I
the,
mean? Like, if the person was super closed off and couldn't pick up the sun, because you said there's energy, there's subtle energy and subtle energy detectors. So the subtle energy detector would have to be the other person picking it up, or did everyone pick it up? Because do you know what I'm saying?
what I knew from talking to the group there was that some people already knew how to do this, so they
Okay.
could really tell. Other people, when they did the initial trial to gather the baseline information, didn't feel anything, but after they were taught how to do it, they felt it, and that showed up in the statistics.
Okay. Okay.
So people do this. Now, what really happened, in my opinion, was we became aware of what chi coming out of someone else's hands feels like.
So once you and once you know, you can't unknow.
Yeah, well, everybody does it. And
Everybody
I'll,
does
I'll
it, but we
explain. Okay, so
it's like when you walk into a room and you see someone and instantly you just get this wave of whoa. Like there's some people come in and you're like drawn to them. Others come into the room and you're like, oh, I gotta stay away from that one.
yeah,
Because that
and I can give you a pretty good explanation for that type of thing. That what you're talking about is charisma and what I call the presence of a big beta. A person who it might hurt you. So your survival mechanism is to detect the state of their field. And if they're dangerous, get the hell out of there. People who don't
right,
know how to do that tend to get the snot beat out of them by crazy people. Okay, so it's dangerous not to have this, not to have a third eye is dangerous. And you're using it right now. You see what I'm saying? It's just that you're
oh,
not fully aware. Now, if you had an intuitive event, like Bob, my friend, is going to call me, what you did is you went here, gathered Bob is about to call me, came back and went, where did I get that information about Bob? You got it from here, not here. Okay.
right,
So you're
right,
psychic. Okay.
right.
Technically. Okay. So this happens, right? And I'm back without any warning to the full psychic powers of my childhood. And this,
So yeah, that's the thing that I'm excited about this. Okay, because you you so you had the childhood trauma, the traumas. You found a way to escape from the trauma, which was actually you finding the way to access the intuitive field, shall we call it, the and subtle energies becoming intuitive. But then you went to school to study to become a doctor and do all this stuff. And you went back in, shall we call it, the three-dimensional space, and you blocked out that intuition and boom, boom, boom. And then it took you until how old were you when you were doing these tests?
that
Like
was, let me
you
see,
said 2001, you said
2001. That was 24 years
28,
ago.
yeah, 24 years ago.
And so I was 45.
45. Okay, so then you're 45. It's interesting because I've seen some patterns happening over and over with people that I've been talking to. It's one of the patterns is this. They've a lot of people in, shall we call it, the hard three-dimensional professions, so accountant, lawyer, doctor, that sort of thing, have been moving from that to more, shall we call it, the healing arts or intuitive or the psychic, the spiritual realm. I'm a former, I still have my CPA designation, but I call myself a recovered accountant, right? But I'm in this space now and learning that I am a healer as well, but I haven't quite found my
Yes,
part
you
yet.
are.
Where, yeah,
You
yeah,
nailed it, Eric. You are a healer. You're alive. That means you're a healer. Intrinsically, your body is healing right now. You know how to do that. The transition is how to heal others. How to do
yes,
that?
that's
This.
yeah. So there's that pattern. You see what I'm saying is there's a pattern. That's like we come into this world with this open eye, like this. You see babies, they come into the world and they're just looking at everything, go, wow, look at this place. This is crazy. This is wild. And then we get conditioned over time and get programmed and conditioned. And then there's an awakening that happens again. For a lot of the people that I've been talking to or meeting with, there's been an awakening. If so for you, you had kind of an awakening when you were a child, then you layered on the conditioning, and then you had this awakening in Arizona when you went boom, and Rosalyn opened it up for you, right?
Absolutely.
She would say gives you like the wake up. It's like, hey, Dr. Bill, wake up. Bang.
And if it hadn't happened there, it would have happened somewhere else.
Yeah.
I just didn't know it was going to happen then. So I come home, I get in the car with my wife, and I'm seeing 3D movies of things that would happen exactly in the future, months in advance, that I experienced. And I said, oh my God, I'm watching something happening here and it hasn't happened yet. It's not even where I am. And so it got really freaky really quick, right? So I go back and to my practice after this experience. And I had some really bad stuff. I had people on literally on death's door. And there was one individual that came in and he'd had orthopedic surgery for a degenerative knee. And so they put in a replacement knee joint. Well, it didn't go well and he was worse. And he couldn't walk. And I'd known him for about a year. And he was starting to develop diabetes because he was gaining weight and hypertension. And he was in horrible pain. Essentially, his life was over. Okay. And so Rosalyn, at the end of our discussion, taught us something she called the wishy-washy technique that anybody can do. Okay. I know it, I know she does that kind of stuff. She's not too serious about this stuff because she knows it's human stuff, right? So the wishy-washy technique is you run the chi energy that you gathered in your body out your right hand or left hand to the other hand, and you play ping pong. You bounce it back and forth. And so I said, okay, let's try the wishy-washy technique on this knee. So I put my hand on one side of the knee and the other hand on the other. And I'm a kind of a bull in a china shop. I just ran. I'm one of these people that if you tell me to do something, you say jump over that cliff, pretty good chance I'll do it. So anyway, but the deal is, I ran this energy back and forth through this guy's knee, and he goes, "Oh my God, my pain is gone." And this is within a couple seconds. He goes, "My pain is gone." He stands up. He's got full joint mobility. This guy had been put under anesthesia to manipulate his knee so it would move, and that didn't even work. And I'm going, what the hell? I mean, it's like he stands up, and we're talking, I'm freaking out here. He's freaking out, and I don't know what happened, but I know it worked, right? That chi washed out whatever was blocking that healing in his knee, and he healed. And you would be amazed how quickly people heal physically. I mean, it knocks you on your butt when you see it because it might take months to break up scar tissue. Two seconds, for God's sakes. So anyway, I'm going to study with Rosalyn. And she teaches all over the world. She's retired now, but she teaches in Ireland and Germany and California. So I started to go out to intensives. And intensives she will come and teach for a week, maybe 80 people. Many of them she's been teaching for decades, and they are her advanced energy medicine practitioners. So she starts teaching me, and it is amazing what this woman knows. It's amazing what energy medicine practitioners know, what they can do. I
No,
watched one of your
I've got my
podcasts.
team. I brought in I've worked with a couple of energy healers. We did the Odin's Roundtable. Denise Grams is an energy healer. She does it remotely with me. You don't even need to be in the same location. Like she does it that. So yeah, I do. Yes,
So
very
anyway,
much
so
so.
so I start studying with Rosalind, and she's got all these students that are very talented. And she had one that was working with neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's, MS, Alzheimer's. And she developed a technique called the gold technique. And the reason it was called the gold technique is, again, Rosalind can see the human energy field in Technicolor. So when you
Okay.
use the gold technique, you use a specific thing and then you emit gold looking energy out your hand into the central nervous system. Okay. Like I did with that woman, maybe a coincidence, but so you do this and you can get into the central nervous system, which is like getting on a chi superhighway. You can go right down the spinal cord, get off at exit 37A, the right adrenal, and put chi in there. Okay. I mean, it's fabulous. So I'm doing this, right? And it's working out great. I'm getting healings. I mean, it's hard to explain to people how frustrating it is and how painful it is as a doctor to watch someone die slowly in front of you. I mean, it'll tear you up emotionally. At least it does me, right? So I'm getting people out of these messes and I'm having the time of my life doing it, right? And and so there was this woman and she had fibromyalgia, which is total body pain. We don't really understand it. And she also had anxiety disorder with panic features. So in other words, she was constantly thinking she was going to die. And this had ruined her life. She was totally disabled. And I was trying to help her with this technique. And I've been working on her for about a year. And I was able to get her partially out of pain and anxiety for maybe 10, 12 hours. So she was coming and seeing me 2, 3 times a week. So she comes back to me and she says, Dr. Schroeder, I'm not going to see you anymore. And I'm going, what? And I said, why? She said, I came to say goodbye. I'm going to kill myself. And I still have an emotional reaction to that event. And I said, no, you're not. So I laid her down on the table in my exam room where I did my energy work, put my hand on top of her head. Okay. And I said, I'm not going to let this woman die. Right. So I ran once again, bull in a china shop, as much energy as I could into her system. And I remember it very well. A wave came across me that I felt, just like if somebody did a cannonball in a pool, you'd feel the wave.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm warm all over, tingly warm all over, and I'm going, that's chi. Where's all this chi coming from? I feel totally safe, calm. It was a feeling of bliss. And I'm going, my God, I'm floating in the air. And I had my eyes closed. She goes, oh my God, my pain is gone. I feel perfectly fine. And I'm going, what? And I open my eyes and she says, I'm floating. And she wasn't floating off the table.
No.
And I went, what? I didn't know what was going on. She sits up and she says, I'm fine. I've never felt like this. She says, I feel better than I have in my entire life. And I go, great. She goes, this is the kicker. Okay. Check this out. She goes home to her husband and they were very deeply in love. But her illness had destroyed their relationship. She couldn't make any money anymore. She had now become a threat to the relationship because of her illness. And there was some anger there, some anger. She gets within a few feet of her husband. Bam, all of her symptoms come back. Full tilt. She's fine. Now all of a sudden she's in pain and having a panic attack. And she goes, screw that. Ain't gonna happen. She remembered what happened on the table. Bam, her symptoms go away. She went like this. Okay. And I didn't know it. Okay. He all of a sudden goes, feeling calm, and goes, says stuff to her about how much he loves her, and their relationship is restored. Right. So she comes back a couple days later and tells me this. And I'm going, I didn't understand what happened on that table. I didn't understand the wave. I didn't understand the warming. I didn't understand the calmness. I didn't understand the floaty, right? And now she's telling me that she was able to go back and forth between this, and it somehow has something to do with her husband. What the heck? So it was months before I could see Rosalyn. So I go out to an intensive, and there's 80 people there. And Rosalyn's a genius in the energy world. I mean, she's like Einstein in the energy world. So everyone wants to talk to her. So you get like 5 minutes, right? So check this out. So I go up to Rosalind. I explain what happened to her. I say, what was that, Rosalind? She says, you already know. I go, what do you mean I already know? She says, I've taught you that many times. I'm going, no, you didn't. You didn't teach me that. She said, yes, I did. You know what it is. And I said, no, I don't. That's why I'm asking. We're having an argument, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, well, just tell me. And she says, it's the biggest aura wins effect. So the biggest energy field, the one that's in the best survival condition, will be used by the other energy field, just like a herd of deer. You ever around deer or elk? If a threat comes and one of the deers sees it, their head will go up and the herd is out of there instantaneously. That herd survived because they have a group aura.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big aura. So what had happened with that woman? It took me 2 years to figure this out. And Rosalind makes you figure this stuff out on your own. Because she realized you go to a lecture, you'll
Yeah.
write it down, right? And then you'll think you know it or have done it, and you haven't. So she forces you, she teaches you in the third eye. And so you're not aware of it here. And that's why I had this argument with her about you didn't teach me that, right?
It's just
She
like, no,
taught
I
me
did.
this.
I already communicated it with you. You're just not listening to it because you're still in your head. You're still in
Yeah.
your head. Yeah.
So anyway, this is what happened. So I ran chi in kind of a physical, mechanical way into her field. So it's like a bellows, a balloon, if you will. If you blow air into a balloon, it expands, right? So I manually expanded her field, and that gave her enough energy that when my field went bam, when I went into the third eye, which I knew how to do, I wasn't good at it yet, but I knew how to do it. Her field had enough energy to do this. And when she was here in this field, she said, there's no predator. There's no tiger here.
Mm.
That's pain. That's anxiety. It's technically not real. So she was able to stay open. So the balloon expanding was all that chi coming in, make you feel warm, right? This is calmness, bliss, safety, because there's no damn tiger. Now, if she'd had a negative thought or feeling or got around with someone with a negative thought or feeling, bam, because you're in survival mode. This is survival mode, detector, big detector. This is survival mode, get the hell out away from the predator physically as quickly as you can, right? The third thing is a little tougher. If you get big enough here, you're looking from the soul at the body instead of the body at the soul. And the soul goes, yeah, I'm going to get crushed. I got what, 40 years and then my body dies. But I don't need it because I got this. I got a soul, which is permanent. So it kind of ignores some of the signals from the body. The pain goes away and the anxiety goes away, and you feel like you're floaty because you're not doing the detectors. And I'm going, oh my God, what have I stumbled across here? So I start doing this. And in the beginning, I was expanding my field, would feel the wave and the person would feel this stuff. But it wasn't working out because as soon as they got around a negative person or had a negative thought or feeling, which is technically a thought tiger, not a real tiger, but your body doesn't care. It says that might be a real tiger, that negative thought you had. So it goes bam. Because when you look at this, tigers see your physical field with their physical eyes, right?
Right.
Which is kind of dangerous when a tiger's looking at you, right? It's going to eat you. It also sees you with its energetic field. Because if you can teach someone like me to see energetic fields in a few years, after 18 billion years, your average tiger knows how to do that. Okay? It's seeing you on some level with its energetic field. So, to avoid that, what the body does is it goes small for close up fighting and detection. And so it goes off the tiger radar. Because if you run away and go behind the tree, it can still see your energy field. But if it's nice and small, you're off the radar. I'm going, wow, this is a survival technique. No wonder everybody has it. So I'm kind of tumbling to all these ideas as I'm working at it, and I'm getting healings that I'm now jaded about, but at the time blew my mind. Just blew
Okay.
my mind.
Okay, hold on. Just can you come back to this is awesome. Dude, this is so awesome. Okay. So I want to come back to the fact that as humans, are you saying that we've learned how to not access that larger field to try and stay hidden from the tigers
No,
or a
what I'm
detection?
saying,
Or is that, do you know what I'm saying?
what I'm
Because it
saying
sounded
is
like,
this.
yeah,
So what I'm saying is the strategy on the physical field requires a
right,
physical action. Now
right.
you could leave, but your body would still get eaten by the tiger. So the strategy is get the hell out of there, fight or flight. Kill the tiger or get the hell
Yeah,
out of there.
yes,
That's
yes,
your
yes,
only option in the presence of a predator, right?
yes, yes.
It's going to eat you. So what people do is they're like this most of the time, hiding because they think there's a predator around because they might have a bad person around them or a bad thought. And the body doesn't care. It's surviving so you can have kids. That's all it cares about, right?
Yeah,
But it's like this, and every once in a while it looks, and it goes back here for protection in the physical. If you're on the physical plane, you gotta watch your butt.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's doing this, so that's where the intuitive flashes are happening. So as I'm working with people, I recognize that they're doing what I call flickering. Have you ever seen a light bulb in a socket which is not quite seated, it flickers? Or
Yeah,
have you ever seen a strobe which turned up all the way and you can't tell it's a strobe because it looks continuous because it's
yeah.
strobing so fast? That's what people do. If you slow down that strobe and they get calmer and calmer, that wave that I felt across me starts to go like this.
So let me. Oh, okay. So you said something in there where you said you're having this three-dimensional experience about what was going to happen in the future, right? Like that when you were and you started to see this three-dimensional. So for me, I have I'll go through days where all of a sudden I'll be walking through and you'll have extreme deja vu. But it's not deja vu per se, as it's, I can almost tell you to the date when I had the actual dream of going through the day that I'm going through. Like I will go, oh, I remember the day I had that dream of this day happening. And I remember, and it's specifically when something really goofy in the day happens and it seems surreal. And I'm like, all of a sudden I go ping and I remember the dream of having had the same thought or feeling. Is that the flicker? Is
Yeah,
that
so
me having a
what
flicker?
happened to you is you did this, got
Yeah.
enough information to remember it in this,
Yeah.
and then later you remembered this. So you had a psychic event,
Yeah.
but at the time you had it, you weren't totally aware of your perceptual state. So if you get somebody to expand, either by manually pushing chi into their body, which is one technique, or you use your field because you're here and they look in your field and they go, no tigers, they'll expand because that's the superior state. This is the best detector. You cannot lie to someone in the sixth sense, third eye. Try it. Just try it sometime. You cannot scare someone when they're like this. You cannot control someone when they're like this. And this technique has been known, I think, for millennia. But because this is a threat to people who want to control people, the people who knew
Yeah.
this said, I don't want to get this out in the open because they'll come and kill me.
So you believe that this is ancient, shall
Oh,
we
it
call it
is.
not ancient technology, but ancient knowledge that has been buried over the millennia to keep us in bondage?
Well, I want to clarify. This is a human survival characteristic of the energy field.
Okay.
The ancients figured it out and recognized it because you had a bunch of psychic people and they went, "Oh, that's how it works." See? Okay. So they know this technique. And it's kind of the basis of most energy techniques that I know of because when you do this, you suck in all this chi, which gives you tons to put out of your hands, right? When you go like this, you can see for miles and miles, just like that. Oh, I don't know. What is that? A Rolling Stones song? I can
I
see
can see
for,
for miles and miles.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
know what you're talking about.
And I'm the eye in the sky. I mean, this
Yeah.
is human nature. This is built in property of our fields. So to characterize it as an unusual ability only tells you that some people are really good at this, and we call them psychics. Some people do this, bam, 1,000 times a second. I don't even know how fast it is, Eric. It's
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
And they're taking a peek, detector, protector, right? This is a better protector. But in the case where a physical tiger shows up, this is what you want. Okay.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah. And so it's funny. It's like I was just having this conversation on the podcast. I did two podcasts back to back. So I did one with my buddy, good Don Barden, and we were talking about this. You know, this cell phone, and I'm holding up a cell phone for those of you who are not watching the video on this. You're just listening to the podcast. Someone's doing the social media thing, and we're watching, and you're seeing a tiger coming at you when you see something on the social media and your body reacts as if it's a real tiger, but it's not a real tiger. It's a psychological tiger. It's a thinking tiger. It's not a real physical one. We haven't had tigers chasing us for a long time, but it's still processed in here as a tiger. So I'm like going, tiger, saber tooth tiger, right? But it's not real. But the body doesn't know that, and the body's reacting that way. And we've created a world of anxious, upset, uptight people when it's actually there's more abundance and safety than we've ever had
oh yeah, I
in
mean,
the history of mankind. Like,
and even here, okay, you're going to be on the physical plane for a period of time,
yeah,
and you will leave your body.
yes,
This is permanent relative to the human body. And on the scale, perhaps, of even God, the creator, or whatever. I mean, think about trying to scare God. Think about trying to say, God, I'm going to kill you. I mean, it's just ain't gonna fly. God's gonna go, yeah, right. I've heard that before. Yeah, there were a couple guys that tried, and that it didn't work out. That's why I'm here. So you have this field of consciousness that's immutable that you enter after you die because you don't have this blocking it anymore. You become full third eye. When babies are born, they are full third eye. They're in a state called delta, a brainwave state called delta. Well, they can't see. They're so nearsighted that everything's a blur. They don't know what sounds are. They don't know what touch is. So they can't use the physical thing. So they're using the third eye. We are born psychic, become less psychic unless we figure it out, and then die and become psychic again. You see what I'm saying? We
Yes,
connect.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
the human experience is technically an ass kicking because you're not psychic. Or not a
Like in
psychic. Yeah.
So I kind of I don't know, can't remember when I came up with this concept or when it came to me, shall I say. And it was this, but it gave me a lot of joy and kind of made a lot of sense. It's like I keep thinking about it going, I was actually, before I was here, I was up there and I went, okay, so let's make a deal. I'm going to meet Dr. Bill when I'm 55 years old, and I'm going to be in Toronto, and I'm going to do a podcast with him. But you know, okay, Eric, perfect. We're going to do that then. So, but before we get to that point, I'm going to experience all these other things in my life, and I make a contract with everybody. Go, okay, let's go down and make this play. We're going to go do this big play called life. Oh, but here's the best part. We're going to give ourselves amnesia. So we forget who we really were. So we're going to go down there and experience it. And that's going to make it even more fun. So I'm actually down here experiencing it with amnesia, forgetting who I really am, so that it's like the movie Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. You remember that, when he goes in
Oh, yeah.
and so he forgets who he is and he goes into this dream world. It's like, we all made this pact to just have amnesia, come down to this three-dimensional space and experience the heartache and the stress of it. But then once it's over, we're like, man, that was fun. You want to do it again? Yeah. Okay, I'll go in again. This time I'll be this guy. Right?
So check out this contextualization of the human experience. For a perceiver to perceive their light, there has to be darkness. Otherwise,
Yeah.
there's no contrast, right? Shadow, shade, all that. To perceive love, you must perceive hate. To perceive knowledge exists, you must be a moron at some point, right? And
Yes. Yeah. That's a good point. I've never thought of the last one, actually.
yeah. I mean, I'm a moron. Just because somebody gave me a paper after spending $2.5 million that says doctor doesn't mean that I'm not an idiot. And in fact, what's really weird about our profession is you give some guy a piece of paper, and I met some of these guys, they were stupid as hell in medical school. You give them the damn piece of paper, and they think they know more than anybody else. I'm going,
Yeah.
what the hell? It's a
Yeah.
piece of paper. I'll give you another piece of paper that says you're an idiot. Will you all of a sudden start acting like an idiot? No. It's like, it's so unfair to our population to have people
Yeah.
that are totally stupid just get a piece of paper and all of a sudden they know more than you do.
Yeah.
Give
Or
me a
that we put
break.
them up on a pedestal and make sure that
Yeah.
they think that
Well,
they're,
anyway,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
check it
Yeah.
out. Check it out, Eric. That's this. We need the
Right.
contrast on the physical level to see that tiger. Here, we see everything technically, if that field's big enough. So it's too much information for our little noggin. I've
Right.
had experiences where I've gone here and there's so much information that I lose track of myself. Okay. So I come back and I say, well, I didn't really get much of that. I got a lot, but it's going to take me years, decades, maybe lifetimes to figure out what I saw. Okay. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah. I do.
this,
I do. I do. And just, can I just ask this one question?
yeah.
So when I've had these moments where, especially when you're just fading in and out of consciousness before you wake up, or just as you're falling asleep, where all of a sudden, or even sometimes when I'm conscious, but not as many times, like conscious being awake, um, physically awake, where all of a sudden the knowledge of the totality of everything is so crystal clear. There is no knowledge to be had because it's so complete. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like it's so obvious that there's no detail. Like I guess it's maybe coming back to what you're saying. There's no contrast anymore. So it's like once you've it's like it's the understanding that passes all
Yeah, see,
knowledge. Like
you've been
it's
educated as a Christian, and that's exactly one of the quotes I would use.
that's
Because yeah,
that's one of the things. One of the quotes, and I've studied the Kolbrin Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, all the different spiritual texts. Like I'm a very big explorer. Like I go and look and explore. But I remember one of those said something. It's an understanding that passes knowledge. And there's been moments where all of a sudden I just go, oh, and there's this piece that just happens, and but there's no head knowledge. It's just there's a knowing that's beyond knowing. Is that
yeah,
what your
there's,
experience or?
well, this is the way I would couch it. This thing about 200 million years ago, some ape-like ancestor had a baby. And that baby is our sole grandfather, our entire race. You look at the genetics, there was one baby that made a brain like this, okay? And that brain has been evolving ever since.
Mhm.
So it developed the capacity to enter into what I call the field of consciousness. Okay, that information is out there. We didn't make it, we just took a sip. Okay, we saw it. It was there before and it'll always be there. So you can call it God, you can call it Brahman, you can call it the Tao, whatever. Yeah, just come up with a
Yeah.
name. Experiencing it means the
We'll call it
name,
the All Father, Odin the All Father,
yeah,
or
or
whatever.
the
Yeah,
Great
yeah, yeah,
Spirit, whoever,
yeah, 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 yeah,
But the
yeah.
deal is, it's experienceable, it's reproducible, so it's scientifically based. Okay, you don't need a machine. This is the machine that experiences this. You build me a machine that experiences this, it'll be bigger than God. Okay, so it's going to be a big ass machine, and we're going to have to build a power plant and plug that sucker in there because it's that big. Right now, I can guarantee you that even in your mind, you are doing, I did the calculation. It's something like a quadzillion data point processing in here that we can detect using regular energy. Well, 75% of the universe is dark energy. How does that act? So when you look at the human being, I have totally dropped all of my considerations about the potential of another human being. It is limitless. There is nothing that you can't do. Your brain knows how to process psychicism. It knows how to do accounting. Okay.
Yeah.
It knows how to do medicine. It knows how to do all these things. It's like this field of consciousness is a giant, and I hate to use this term because it's internet. It's not, because an internet is a linear transfer of data at best. It has to go through here, so it's slow as hell when it gets here. It exists, but think of the internet as the tip of a pin in this depth of the universe. It's that freaking small in terms of its informational content. This is super big. So when we access this consciousness, we are sampling it. When we come back and try to talk about it, we get a pin, prick view of the universe. Okay. So, so parts of us. Okay, I have a colleague named Jeffrey Thompson that I may have mentioned to you. And
Yes, you
Jeff,
did.
yeah, Jeffrey has identified 21 states of consciousness that you can induce by training the brain to resonate with these frequencies that are psychicism, that are creativity, that are emotional processing. Anything the brain can do, you can tell it how to do. I mean, you became an accountant, I became a doctor.
Hmm, hmm.
I became an energy medicine practitioner. That was not coincidence. That was an expression of the human potential. Based on what you've said about your academy, it's almost like I would say to your people that do not ever underestimate your potential. Because I've seen people live through stuff. I don't even know how to express it. I've seen people do stuff that is unbelievably beyond human capacity. Or at
Mhm.
least at one point I thought that. So when you're doing something like you're doing, what you're doing is you're opening the door to this vast human potential. And it would be a primary mistake to assume that's limited. If you do that, you've just gone back right back into the old little tiny brain case, and you have a better detector. It's called the human energy field, the third eye, you name it. That's where the future of mankind lays, in my opinion. That's what we had before we walked away from it. So my departure, my 37-year detour from my potentialities, becoming a doctor and a molecular biologist, is somewhat like what our civilization is going through. Back in the old days, I don't know, have you ever read the autobiography of a yogi? Yogananda's
No,
book?
no, I haven't. No.
Read it. This will tell you it's Paramahansa Yogananda. I'll send you the information if you need it. That is
Yes,
a
please
story
do.
of a man who understood his full potential, shown to him by people who could bilocate, who could be two places at once. They could do anything. They were Hindu holy men, but that wasn't a property of Hinduism any more than it was a property of Christianity for people to perform miracles. The saints perform miracles. I mean, how did they do that? Yeah. I mean, we need to step back from our limitations. We need to start respecting each other's power. We need to say we are more together powerful than we are apart. And I hate to be negative about this, but there are people who want us to be apart. They don't want us to be brothers. They don't want us to be a single organism because they can exploit that. They can exploit that separation. They can confuse us. They can frighten us. They can charge us for access to what we already have. All right. So that's kind of a nasty part of human nature, but you see it all the time. What I'm saying is that you don't have to put up with that anymore. It's like that Ron Popeil commercial they used to do. I don't know you don't have to put up with it anymore. New from
Yeah.
Ronco. This is what it's like. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm trying to tell people this, and it's like I want to do an infomercial like you see on
Yeah.
TV, you know. Here's, plastic duct tape from the alien duct tape.
Yeah.
I'm going, yeah, we got that, man. We got that. We got that covered. It's like, it's almost insane I mean, because it's brought me great joy, but it's also brought me great frustration because we're just not connecting with ourselves yet. We're just not connecting with our human potential. Like I say, it's unlimited. I mean, I was lucky to have some psychic abilities introduced to me when I was a kid. I went through hell to get them, but I'm not unusual. I'm not talented. I'm technically, academically very intelligent, but I'm stupid as hell when it comes to emotional intelligence. I had to learn that. I'm a moron. I can't fix a car. I can't build a house. If you put me out in a field with a knife next to some of the guys I know, I'd be dead in a week. He would be there 20 years later. I'm technically a freaking moron. I'm smart over here, but you see what I'm saying? I have this
Yeah.
potential. I ran at it. Just like the guy figured out how to build a house or do calculations like a CPA. I probably could have done that. I don't know why you became a CPA. I'm not exactly sure why you did that. But you see what I'm saying? If I had one thing to say to your audience and this audience listening today, that it's been frustrating for me to realize that we can physically heal, we can emotionally heal, and we can access spiritual worlds that would just bring us such joy and happiness. But we're here.
Mhm.
We're here. We think. Simultaneously, we're here.
So
And
here's
I want people to connect with that because they'll
and
feel.
here's the thing for me, Bill, is that there's been something calling me for like a long time. And I keep walking around and I'm doing, and I became a chartered accountant and I did the schooling and then all the rest of that. But when I was younger, I was very loud and proud. Like there was they used to call me the Viking when I was a kid, right? And this is
Yeah, I
for me,
saw
the
the
Viking,
picture of you.
the
Yeah, that
fight.
was
Yeah,
pretty.
that's some serious mullet, man. Serious mullet hair. Um, but I finally come back around to that childhood, who I was, that kind of explorer, filled with energy and potential. And but there's been something telling me that the way we're doing everything doesn't make sense. Like it's what we've been doing forever, but it's just there. It's like there's to me it feels like we're on the edge of a joy cliff. There's so much more joy to be had. There's so much more. And I like what you said, unlocking our human potential, or unlocking the human potential, which is not being constricted by the human experience in the
It's not.
three-dimensional space that we call it, the three-dimensional space.
Yeah, when you read about Yogananda, you will see that he was able to do every. If I had really had my stuff together, I'd be like Rosalind. I can see human energy fields. I can't see them in color, not in the same detail, but I'm telling you that anything another human being has ever done is in a way at your fingertips. Now, I may be good at medicine or science, and that may drive me into that, or I may have a desire that drove me into this, or this person to be a lawyer or a politician. But anything the brain has ever done, any brain can do. And that's just the brain. What about a person in the field of consciousness? These children that come back and they know how to play Mozart at 5 or speak 7 languages. They didn't have the brain to do that. Where did they get that? Read those stories. This is part of the human potential. They had that in their field. They ended up being a little baby, okay? And then it bloomed. And they said, "Where did you get this?" Well, that was from a past life, or that was from a experience, or you're sharing the field of a Beethoven or an Einstein. We're a collective organism. We are not separate. We cannot be separate because of this. We can see that we're separate here, but that's an illusion. You and I are no different, and we belong in the same field. If I knew how to do it, I would know what you were thinking. And when I was a kid, I could do that. I can't now. It's terrible because I've had people. I mean, I used to be able to tell what people were thinking. I was totally telepathic when I was a kid. And that, if I could do that, you know that Bob Johnson's brain can do it too. Within the realm of possibility, right? So, and I could give you an even better explanation that incorporates the words of Max Planck, the father of quantum physics, or Einstein, or Tesla, that gives you a firm foundation of why that happens. And I don't know what we're doing time wise, but I can do that real quick.
We got another 15 minutes, man.
Okay,
Go.
so when you study existence, this is the
Yeah.
truth. Everything that is in existence has the same property. Nothing in existence is not moving. In the deepest parts of space, where it's super cold, there's still movement, which is an oscillation. Oscillation produces a frequency. Frequency is information. When anything imposes informational structure on chaos, it comes into existence, including planets, stars, people, you name it. Okay? Because that organizational thing borrows entropy from chaos for as long as it's able to maintain that organism. For me, it's going to be what, 80 years? So 69 so far. that my body will borrow entropy from chaos, use that energy, and when I kick the bucket, I'm going to release all that entropy back into chaos. So atoms do that. So at the subatomic particle, there's movement, vibration. That's all they know. That's all they can detect. They form complexes to make gluons out of strings, vibrating strings that form with quarks and tachyons to make neutrons and protons, which glom together in various patterns to form the different elements. Those different elements form molecules, higher and higher informational structure. If you got more informational structure, you get more energy, and you can use that energy to make a bigger structure. So living things took molecules and made DNA, higher informational structure, right? That DNA was used to make unicellular organisms, which became multicellular organisms, which became fish and amphibians and mammals, right? So they got more and more complex. There's a delicacy that comes with complexity, but that's how we got here. So you end up with a human being in 2025. Incredibly complex informational. I studied molecular biology most of my life, and I can't even touch a drop in the ocean of what happens at the cellular level. There's no way to comprehend it. It's that complex. So that's a set of fields interacting to make an informational complexity. And that's what human beings are. They're fields that are complex enough to borrow energy from entropy, live 80 years, and now they go into from brain, incredibly complex organ, into mind, which blows brain out of the water, into consciousness, which blows mind out of the water, and into spirit, soul, whatever you call it, which blows consciousness out of water. So if you look at this, this is an informational hierarchy. And that's what we are. So information is vibration. I'll talk about Jeffrey Thompson. Jeffrey Thompson is a beautiful musician, and he knows how to use vibration to communicate. So the oxygen atom, if you shoot energy at it, it bounces the energy back at in a spectrum. It actually has a colored spectrum. You can take mathematics, convert that into sound. And when you put that through headphones, and I actually done this, I watched it happen to myself. You put the sound frequency of oxygen into somebody's body, your blood oxygen levels go up. Now check that
Yeah.
out for a second. So, okay, so that vibrational structure, you don't have to run out and get a bottle full of oxygen, which is gathered frequencies of oxygen. You can make it. Now that will blow your mind. So he has a
You can
track.
make it by listening to it.
The vibration is it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
its identity. That is its frequency identity, and it has nothing else. I've talked to him about this because, at first I went, "You're making this up." And you don't do that. Whenever somebody tells you something like that, I mean, they could be totally bullshitting you, but there's a possibility that it's true, right? A scientist would never discount that and go in, well, say that guy's full of bullshit. It could be that he's right. Okay. So you observe if it's reproducible, right? So I go to Dr. Thompson and we become pretty close friends. And I say, well, can you do that for, let's say you need vitamin C? Why don't you make a vitamin C frequency soundtrack? And so you won't have to go down to Walmart and buy vitamin C. You'll just play this vibration. He says, those complexes are so much more, those molecules are so much more complex than oxygen that he could do it, but it would take him forever to process it mathematically. And I'm sitting there because the immediate thing I thought is, here's this person with this wacky gene that causes all hell to break loose. Why not give them the vibration of a
Yeah.
normal,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he says, yeah, that would be nice, but good luck. He says, I can do oxygen. I can do the sound of Saturn. So what I'm saying? So,
What would happen if he had access to quantum computing?
well, that may be something that does it to obtain. But what I'm saying is that if you ask Einstein, for instance, And Einstein was a physicist who spent the last 30 years of his life trying to write an equation for God. Okay. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? He didn't necessarily believe in God, but he wanted to know what that organizing principle was. That is God, right? I mean, that's kind
Right.
of a shorthand for God. You look at him and you go, Einstein says, there is no matter as such. There's only vibration, which is information, as I pointed out to you. So Einstein's going, there's no matter. Max Planck, and I'll have to paraphrase his quote, he says, as a student of the most serious science available, the study of the atom, I can tell you this much. There is no matter as such. Sounds familiar?
Yeah.
There is only that which holds the structure of the solar system, the atom, in orbit. You must propose that behind that structure, there is an intelligent mind operating it, an organizing intelligence. We call that a mind. And he may have changed his opinion after he died and went to, you know,
Yeah.
cosmic reality. I'd like to have a talk with him. It'd be great. But you see what I'm saying? We are processing reality with the narrowest slice of information, visible light, audible sound, when this is at our fingertips. Is that going to God? My dad had this great quote. My dad was a wonderful person. And he said to me, he said, hell is the distance from God. Think about that for a second. Perceptually, if you're a long ways from God, you're in hell.
Right. Yeah. Yes. 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 Okay. That. Yeah. I get that.
And other things have been said that I think people need to tell themselves occasionally, maybe all the time. My favorite quote of Christ was the last thing that he said to his disciples before the Romans came and dragged him away to kill him, right? He said this, and I think it's misinterpreted, and there'll probably be theologians that just roll their eyes when I say this. He said, all this you can do and more because I go to God. Now, a lot of people interpreted that, yeah, you could do it through Christ, which is clearly the case. But what he was saying was, I was going to God. Where was he going? To the field of consciousness, which is the best secular definition of God I've ever heard. So
Mhm.
what he was telling them is, go to God and you can do what I did, raise people from the dead, make them see again, maybe even be reincarnated back in your body. I don't know why anybody want to do that, but anyway, but the deal is,
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying? He's saying this, he was not telling us something that we couldn't do. That would be the worst practical joke you could play on somebody. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Right. Right.
He's not that kind of guy. He's saying if you go to God, which is out here somewhere, this perceptual matrix, you can do what Christ did. And there was, as far as I know, there's no prohibition in my religion about being Christ-like. There's no prohibition in any other religion about advancing the soul. The the Buddhist tradition is very clear about this. There's nothing that says, you know, you can't do that because it's my property, or I
Yeah.
patented it, I've got a copyright on it. That's not where we're going. We're going to pure full tilt human potential. And I've got a shot. I maybe got what, 15 years left? I'm going to take a reasonable shot at it. And I'll let you know how it goes.
I
But
want to know how it goes.
yeah. And one of the things that I want to say to you is that I have done this at a distance from Colorado to Australia. Like you'd experienced, it's not local. In this, it's quantum. Okay? There's no time, no space. So I worked with this woman and got her into this state. It was instantaneous. Well, from here to Australia, there's going to be a time delay if I was using electromagnetics, and the field would drop off if it was electromagnetics. So I wasn't broadcasting with a 5,000 kilowatt station. I was in a non-local environment. That'll flip you out. So what? So what I did is I started to teach people how to do this because I couldn't spend every day coming back down, getting rid of their pain and trying to solve this mess. So I taught them how to do this. That's when I started getting real results. Because when they go like this, the chi comes in, their organs get better. Their anxiety goes away, and they start to have spiritual psychic experiences. That's what I want to do with the rest of my life, unless they come and burn me at the stake as a witch. In case they do, you have my permission to bring marshmallows.
Okay,
Okay?
I appreciate that because I like s'mores. I like s'mores. It'll be a Dr. Bill s'more. Hey, I I'm realizing something here is I'm gonna start opening up my podcast to be 2 hours and not an hour and a half because there's so much more I want to talk to you about right now, man. But I
Yeah,
gotta
and
jump.
I
There's
know,
so much
yeah.
more we could do, but I gotta jump to the next one. But where okay, so first of all, you and I are going to follow up. We're going to have a follow up conversation and keep
Right.
going on this because I want to see how we can bring this. Where can people find you, and where can
Well,
they, and how can we learn from you?
I've
How to
created a
access
website and
this?
I'll share it with you,
Yeah.
but it was designed for something else. I'm not
Okay.
self-promoting and I'm not selling anything. I've been around long enough to know I'm perfectly fine financially. I'm perfectly fine ego-wise too. I just know that this is something that I have found again, that many have found before, and I feel like it's time to talk about it. I think it's time to act. And I mean, I don't care. I mean, if I snuff it tomorrow and I didn't deliver this in heaven, I would feel like shit. Okay?
Well, this is what I want to do. Is
Yeah.
I want to access this. I want to share this. There's something inside me that's been telling me that I'm here to be a I'm the Viking Academy is a platform that I started, and had no clear vision on what it was going to be. It's evolving as I've been going along, but it's all that the ethos is explore for yourself. You have the power to self-discovery, right? It's the joy of self-discovery. I call it embrace your inner Viking, explore yourself, explore your three dimensions, and experience the joy of self-discovery. So it's about taking it back for yourself. That's about as far as I got on it, other than having some really
Well,
cool
when
podcasts.
I first contacted you, I said Viking Academy. Does this mean we're going to learn how to take over small European countries and
Yeah,
plunder them?
rape and pillage. Yeah, no. That's no. We're gonna
No,
do
that's
some
not bad.
Viking
Yeah.
raids. Location. I don't know. Anyways, this is where my energy and joy is going here. So where can they find you?
I will send you my website and I'll make a
Okay.
landing page so that
Okay.
people can access this material. You know, the website was created for a completely different period, but I can make a landing page pretty quick so
Okay.
that they can at least see what it is. And, maybe make some links so that they'll kind of get an idea how to explore this arena. Because the information is there. It's not like something exotic or
That'd be
weird,
great. And
esoteric.
we'll put it permanently inside the Viking Academy. But you and I are going to follow up and talk a little bit more about how we can bring this information, how we can open this up to more people. Because I had a vision there of what's possible, unlocking that human potential. This has been awesome, man. I really
And I'm
appreciate you being
grateful
on the
to you,
podcast.
Eric. What you've been through has meaning to you, and now it's going to have meaning to a bunch of people. I want you to congratulate yourself and think about how wonderful that is to be in that role for other people. Parents do it for children, teachers do it for students, and we all have that responsibility to share this human experience and our potential. And I think that's just a wonderful gift you have. So
And you are doing it as well. So
you
this has
betcha,
been
man.
awesome. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Okay. All right. Take it easy, man. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to the Viking Academy podcast. Make sure to leave us your honest feedback by leaving a review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode.